reviving our traditional practices is very important. And when you mention tribal people and then indigenous communities and small communities, marginalized or let's say underprivileged, all of them, when they come together and then they show us that if they can do it, if they can revive the traditional practices, and if they can beat the plastic, then maybe we all can.
Reduce the use of plastics. I always talk about the refuse, reduce, reuse. That is the whole idea of sustainable development. And when we talk about planet versus plastic, planet wants us to refuse. Okay, planet wants us to reduce. Planet is not about recycling or upcycling. So we want that message to reach more and more people. The second message is again to the people is that if you do create waste, dispose it safely, give it to the right people where it can be recycled or upcycled. You can send it to us. So collection agents would actually be set up all over the world.
That sustainable fashion is not buying sustainable, it's buying less.
Starts where they have to first wash and clean the plastic waste, then they cut it manually using scissors, and then using a charkha and hand loom they weave a fabric.
Wow.
And once the fabric is woven, it is all nicely rolled up, and once in a week it's sent to our Pune unit where the tailoring happens.
Hello and welcome everyone to Planet vs. Plastics podcast series brought to you by Earth Day Network India. I'm Rumit, Walia, your host for this insightful journey into a world free from plastic pollution. Today's episode is about women's group and the title is Women's Groups versus Plastic. And to talk about it, we have Miss Amita from the Ecosocial tribe, that is Recharkha, which is also a star women's group. But before we dive in, here's a quick reminder. The views expressed here are for general informational purposes, and we encourage you to do your own research. We're here to spark ideas, inspire change, and navigate the complexities of plastic pollution. Welcome, Ms. Amita, to the Planet vs. Plastic podcast series. Can you tell us more about the organization, its mission, and how it all started in the very first place?
Hi Rumit, Amita here. I'm the CEO and founder of Recharkha, the Ecosocial tribe. And like the name suggests, the mission of our organization is to revive the charkha to solve today's problem of plastic waste pollution and rural employment through handicrafts.
That's wonderful. And I've been going through your Instagram and all the website and all the places that your social media presence is, and it's truly remarkable how you have been working with majority of women's groups. So this podcast is basically women's group versus plastic, and we wanted to keep it because a lot of I would say task or everything on this planet depends on how women's are working. So why don't you tell us more about how a women's group in your organization and how the structure is? How have you organized it very well that it is growing it with a very good pace?
So the whole purpose of starting Recharkha was, like I said, to first of all take care of the plastic pollution that is growing every single day. But secondly was also to enable rural livelihoods, and that too for women. So what I come from a small town in Dadra Nagar Haveli, and I always used to have a lot of tribal people around, especially tribal women also around me. And what I used to see with all these women around is that they had to take care of their family, plus they had to also go out for work. So in our area it's not that women have to just sit at home, they do go out for work and then balance that entire aspect. And then if there is no employment opportunity in the village or nearby, they had to travel to the city. And any city that they go to, there is a lot of commute time. And if that is also not available, then they have to migrate to a city. And migration brings its own problems. For the city dwellers, it is all the problems of overgrowth, overpopulation, congestion, etc. And for the villagers, they are uprooted from their roots and they have to migrate to the cities, and especially if families are uprooted, that's even worse. So if the woman in the household is stable, she is earning, first of all she has a sense of empowerment and contribution towards the income of the family. That
Wonderful. So, when you mentioned in the very starting Recharkha, like reviving those practices, and I remember, so last year our theme was invest in our planet. It was very broad how all businesses we want them to invest somehow in our planet, and this year the theme is planet versus plastic. So I was thinking like how plastic is connected with everything, and reviving our traditional practices is very important. And when you mention tribal people and then indigenous communities and small communities, marginalized or let's say underprivileged, all of them, when they come together and then they show us that if they can do it, if they can revive the traditional practices, and if they
Mm.
can beat the plastic, then maybe we
Mm.
all can. So that's a wonderful thing that you are doing. So
Two places where we are already, because many more women need employment over there. So we are focusing on creating livelihoods in and around our villages, so that a little more remote areas also can come and start working there. It also helps us, help in the economics of the organization, because no matter how much we are, calling it a social enterprise, we do have to make our own profit. We do have to make our own sale. So our focus is right now to increase the sale of the products as well as to increase the profitability, so that we can empower more women.
I mean, if we go to the
Yes,
rural parts of India where it all starts, if they set an example, we
correct.
would be in guilt. The city people would be in guilt if they are doing it. Why can't we do that? Maybe we are at the center of this huge problem. And then you also say that people are going to shop. I mean, when we talk about, so I was talking about sustainable fashion with one of our
Hmm.
advisors, and they were telling that sustainable fashion is not buying sustainable. It's buying less, but it doesn't fit in every category. I mean, people are still
Hmm.
going to shop several things that they need on a daily basis. Let's suppose toys for their kids or something like that. So why don't we go sustainable? Very rightly you said. uh,
Exactly.
uh,
Because we are the
yeah.
choosers. If we choose right, that's how the manufacturing and production is going to be. Today, in today's generation, it's a consumption driven economy, market driven economy, and we are at the center of that market driven economy. So, this is where it needs to change. Not the villagers, not underprivileged. It's we, people who live in the cities, so-called privileged individuals, need to really change
Yeah.
our behaviors.
Sure. So, would you like to tell the audience a little bit more about how the daily schedule or daily kind of engagement is where these women are working, and when they go back? So, I'm sure that they are now aware about all the scenario about the plastics, why they are doing this job, and how it is important not just for their livelihoods but for everyone on the planet. So,
Mm-hmm.
do you also engage them in, let's say, other practices? You take them somewhere to speak and then showcase like story sharing, something like that.
Yes, yes. So I'll answer the second part of your question first, and then go to the first one. So we do have this, this whole behavior change in all the three units where we function, and we do keep imbibing this behavior in them on a daily basis. For example, they try to use cloth bags while going shopping. They do not use plastic, even if they are, if they consume any wrapper or like any chips or biscuits or anything else, they can, clean it up and then give it to our upcycling unit. That is what we showcase to them. And then we also have a zero waste policy in our office. So no bottled water, all reusable containers. Even if we have guests and we have these experiential tours where people from all around the country come and come to visit our unit, there for them also we ask them to bring their own cutlery, bring their own cups and plates, so that imbibing that habit in everybody, right from the employees to our visitors to our customers. And our social media handles keep talking about how a person can live a zero waste life. We have three units and about 75 people working across these three units, and most of our workers days start either at 9 or 10 o'clock. They come to the workshop. In the village they come, they, the first thing that most of our women do, so we have teams, individual teams who are working on different handlooms and our basketry craft making unit as well. First they empty the plastic waste from the sacks that have arrived. These sacks are full of plastic waste, which consumers and people like you, who don't, donate us their plastic waste. It comes to our Pune unit first, and then from there it is sent to the village. So they first empty those sacks, and they scout through all the colors and all the patterns and all the wrappers and plastic bags that have come, and they in their mind make up some designs, that today I'm going to weave a yellow and golden fabric, and today I'm going to weave a silver and blue fabric, depending on what color of waste comes that day. So they are in process of designing all throughout, and that is what is very fascinating. And then there is the whole process which starts where they have to first wash and clean the plastic waste, then they cut it manually using scissors, and then using a charkha and hand loom they weave a fabric.
Wow.
And once the fabric is woven, it is all nicely rolled up, and once in a week it's sent to our Pune unit, where the tailoring happens. So the stitching and tailoring and the store is in Pune and in Mumbai as well. So that's where the city work happens. But the villagers are totally into either weaving or making something that we are right now calling basketry, origami basketry making.
Wow.
So that's a new process that we have devised, and we're working on creating very beautiful bags and products with the origami basketry.
This is great, and why we feel very proud that Earth Day Network recognizes people who are actually doing the work, and just like that, you are also one of the Star Women's Leadership Group Leadership Awardee, and that is how we have several categories of award, because we believe that recognition is very important. When somebody is doing something, they need to be recognized, they need to be appreciated, and then they need to be connected with the whole world so that they can show the world you can also replicate it in your areas.
It all started, actually the seed was sown when I was actually in my school, and during the school days itself, somewhere in the textbook I had learned that plastic is not biodegradable. And then, reading more about it, what is degradable, what is non biodegradable, all of those things, I started understanding that this particular material, which is plastic or thermocol, these things are not going to go into the soil for hundreds and thousands of years. And then why are we using them? Or even if we are using them, then why are we not using them for 1,000 years? Why are we using it as a disposable material only once and throwing it away? How much justice are we doing it to our planet? So since then, since I was 12, 13 years of age, I had actually myself stopped using disposables. And I grew up to be becoming an engineer by basic education, but I, somewhere in the back of my mind, I did not want to do that. I wanted to do something else, something to do with the planet, and so that I spend all the time that I had towards the service of the planet. And hence I quit my IT career. I've gotten a very good opportunity to go to the US to do my master's, work there for a few years in the field of sustainable development, come back and then start this organization called Recharkha. But the whole purpose, the three different aspects that we have at Recharkha, first and foremost is environment conservation, especially about plastic waste. Second, most importantly, that I found, especially because I lived in Dadra Nagar Haveli, I grew up there, and I used to travel and trek a lot in rural areas. I realized that people in rural areas need employment. So then, trying to bring those two aspects together, I did not want to set up a recycling factory or something. I wanted to do something much more, nice, that the rural, that suits the rural women, and they can come there and work. And hence this little concept of handicraft unit was set up, where the first craft was obviously the charkha and handloom, which is what we are most well known for. And then next, what we also discovered for the about a year ago was the craft of origami basketry. And then we are also looking at many more crafts to explore and grow in that field as well.
Great, great. So that's a wonderful story, and with that, it's a wrap. And thank you so much, Miss Amita, for joining this podcast and telling all us about how Recharkha is working and how important it is again to go back to our roots. So thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Rumit.
Yeah, and for the audience, remember, keep it clean, keep it green, and every day is Earth Day.